I've been thinking about in the past, like kind of few days, weeks, but like how to maximize as much as possible out of my like life or my day, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like leaving me to this like thought of like, so like theoretically there's this limited amount of resources of wealth or power or listens or views,
Yeah.
and like there's
Right.
only so many that can, there's only so many in existence, and
Hmm.
that you often see is the people at the top are getting majority of it and the people at the
Hmm.
bottom are not getting as much.
Right. Right.
And so I've had this thought. I was like, well, I'm trying to get as much out of my day, but in the same way, I don't want to feel like I'm competing with my neighbor, like
Yeah, totally.
because it feels kind of inhuman to be like, oh, I
Mm.
need to beat this person to get to the next. But in a theoretical sense, we're on this bell curve of like whatever the hell. Do
Hmm.
you think you have to beat a person to get ahead, or is there a different way of looking at it that kind of feels better?
Totally. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think like my perspective on it kind of depends what mood I'm in. So like when I'm in a like scary, like the world is terrible and everything's gonna go poorly type mood, I'm like, oh fuck, I suck, and I'm like, you know, so I would maybe have a bad mood or like bad idea about that. But I think generally the way I feel about it is that I don't know. I think that there's not necessarily limited resources when it comes to something as abstract as like attention.
Mm,
Um, like I guess obviously there is a limited resources because there's only so many people and there's only so much time they can spend on things. And when you put yourself into like a sphere, you're like naturally gonna take up space that would be someone else's if you weren't there. Um, so I guess it's both things. I guess like just by nature of being somebody in a space, you're gonna like take away space from somebody else that could be using it. But I don't know. I think you have to trust that you are. I think you have to like work to make sure that you are um, doing something that makes sense for you, first of all, that like feels right to you, and then on top of that, something that you think is positively impacting the space that you're jumping into.
mm,
Um, and I think like with that comes the risk that you might be wrong, um, and that it might turn out that you're like taking space unnecessarily or like siphoning energy or attention from somebody who deserves it more or something like that. But I think that that's kind of just part of life, and you're if you're not taking space anywhere, then it's just going to kind of bottle up, and that's not really healthy either. I think it's kind of a balance of respecting yourself and respecting others, and ideally those are able to coexist, which is not always the case, but like that's what you kind of have to work towards.